Hello all. Welcome back. Thank you for being here today. We have a new story to share. Let's start. I'm Ethan, and I've come to realize that some lies have no warning label. They can sometimes be disguised as harmless fun and appear as jokes. When they see your reaction, some people laugh it off as a joke after saying something startling. In actuality, not every joke is amusing. What about those practical jokes? They reveal the true feelings of others toward you. On what should have been the best day of my life, I discovered that the toughest men are possible. My fiancé did something that caused me to doubt everything in front of our friends and family. Then I had an option. Walk away or laugh it off. See what happens when someone crosses a line they shouldn't have by continuing to watch. This teaches you to know when to leave. For a little more than a year, I was dating a woman. I really believed she was the one. Like any couple, we experienced highs and lows in our relationship. I would have replied that was all I was looking for in a partner if you had asked me back then. We had a connection that others did not. I loved her, and her imperfections didn't matter. That's how love ought to be, in my opinion. You don't pick someone based just on their positive qualities. Love them with all of their imperfections. I didn't make the proposal on the spur of the moment or because it felt right, but rather with careful consideration. I gave it careful thought. I desired a future with her and took her seriously. I felt prepared for a new phase of my life when she said yes. Long-term relationships never appealed to me. Why delay if you want to be married? We started organizing the wedding as soon as we were engaged. She looked as eager as I to get married right away. So did I. I experienced a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration as the wedding day drew near. I was thrilled. I liked her so much that I asked her to marry me. I saw us growing old together and waking up together every morning. That's what I desired. But I couldn't get rid of the lingering anxiety. Marriage wasn't only a good time. It lasted forever. If things got hard, I had no intention of giving up. I knew that once I made those commitments, I would be committed for the long haul, so I wanted to do it correctly. I was certain that I loved her. No, I didn't. It was this. Now it's just us. Together, we will address every choice, strategy, and issue. That pledge wasn't something I took lightly. I told myself that I had made the proper decision in spite of my nervousness. I ignored my anxiety and concentrated on the important things. It was enough that I was prepared to wed the lady I loved. The morning of my wedding seemed unreal. Excitement was in the air, and the sun was shining brightly. Family I hadn't seen in years, childhood pals, and distant cousins who traveled great distances to attend were all present at the site. People in their finest attire were taking pictures, grinning, and conversing. There was a lot of rejoicing and laughter. In the crowd, I noticed an unexpected person. My fiancé's ex-boyfriend, Logan. I was mistaken at first, but it was unquestionably him. Standing there, he blended in with the throng. He wasn't only a stranger from her past. He was the same man she had detested, the same man she had said was a mistake, the same man she had wished she had never dated. She laughed about the time she wasted on him and called him selfish and toxic. What brought him here? Though I didn't mention inviting him, I made an effort to comprehend it. Several times, we went over the guest list. We had to cut back on attendance due to financial constraints, so I was reminded. The final list did not include all of my people. How was the invitation sent to Logan? Despite my mixed feelings, I kept them to myself. I didn't want to worry about something I didn't fully grasp on my wedding day. I took deep breaths and maintained my composure. Later, I'll deal with this. The atmosphere for the most significant event in my life was set by the subdued music. My heart was pounding as I stood at the altar. I watched her and her father walk down the aisle. As I had envisioned, she looked stunning. For a second, everything felt fine, and her dress flowed nicely. This was the beginning of forever, I assured myself. The ceremony proceeded according to schedule. I felt the weight of the moments as the guests watched and the officiants talked. She suddenly grabbed for the microphone as we were about to exchange vows. At first, I didn't give it much thought. She probably wanted to express her affection for me, say something kind, or give the guests a brief thank you. I was wrong. Before we go any farther, she added, I would want to thank Logan, the love of my life. The room was silent. I looked around, trying to make sense of what had happened. A few visitors giggled uncomfortably, not knowing if it was intended to be humorous. Evidently apprehensive, people moved in their seats. My relatives appeared in disbelief, wondering whether they had misheard her. Claire's expression spoke for itself when I looked at her. She expressed what I believed. Logan was not hard to locate. He smiled smugly as he seated among the guests. I couldn't tell if he was as shocked as I was or if he had anticipated this. It was irrelevant at the time. "Relax, it's just a trick," she murmured, waving her hand as I struggled to chuckle and come to. "A joke?" She gave it that name. I gave her a look. My mind was overflowing with ideas. How can I get married to someone who laughs at this? Does she realize how embarrassing this is? She simply shrugged it off when I was prepared to commit to her. I looked around the room. Some of the visitors looked uncomfortable, while others seemed amused, as though they were seeing a reality TV moment, and continued to smile, hoping I would laugh it off and agree. I inhaled deeply, met their gaze, and said, "Here's mine since we're playing a practical joke. I'm withdrawing from this wedding." The room seemed to have stopped breathing for a time. The laughter that had been in the air a few moments before was gone in an instant. Slowly, I noticed Claire's countenance shift. She ceased to laugh. Uncertain if they heard me correctly, a few turned to their neighbors and muttered. Standing close by, the officiant appeared still, as though awaiting instructions. There was nothing to do. "I've already decided." I didn't hold off until I heard back. I simply turned and left. I continued on. As I made my way to the exit, I could hear the noise behind me. Some were attempting to comprehend the recent events. Reactions were being freely expressed. As I was walking, I caught glimpses of it. Was he gone? There was a murmur. "She is deserving." Another voice added its voice. Some people didn't agree with what I did. Someone, perhaps a relative, said, "This is crazy. He's going overboard." Claire came next. She was after me when I heard her heels clicking on the ground. "Hold on, Ethan." "Yes." Panic and despair shook her voice. I felt ashamed and furious, so I continued. "It was merely a joke. Please don't do this," she begged repeatedly. "Do you have a joke?" I might have handled it differently if it had just been the two of us and she had immediately apologized upon seeing my reaction. On the most significant day of our lives, she did it in front of our loved ones. She assumed I would dismiss it with a laugh. I didn't chuckle. I was ready to go outside when she came up and took hold of my arm. "Ethan, please listen to this text." Her eyes were shiny and stained with tears as she pleaded. "That's not how I meant it. I simply didn't want an explanation." I withdrew my hand and carried on. She was still yelling my name when I got into my car. After shutting the door and starting the car, I left the parking area. That's all. There was no turning back once I was gone. The calls continued as I drove home. One after the other, her mother, sister, and a couple of mutual friends. My phone kept vibrating. The texts came next. The first few were normal. "Call me, Ethan. It was only a joke. You are aware of my love for you?" However, they evolved over time. She became defensive instead than apologetic. "I was quite embarrassed by you. Why did you depart in such manner?" Then she resumed her begging. "I didn't mean it that way at all. Speak to me." I never responded to any. Her relatives instantly became interested. Her mother left a message when she called. Her voice was too pleasant and worried. "I know you're upset, Ethan. There is a miscommunication and concern for you. Give me a call back." Her sister attempted to instill guilt in me. "Would you like to throw everything away for a single error?" Her father, who had previously spoken to me very little, spoke up out of the blue. "Ethan, get up. Work this out." Nobody was aware of my predicament. At their own wedding, no one anticipated hearing their fiancé refer to another man as the love of their life. I sat in my apartment that night feeling like everything was falling apart. I didn't shatter. All I felt was numbness. I finally took action that I should have taken a long time ago. I started digging. How long had she been playing games? I wanted to know. I checked through her social media accounts to see if there was anything I missed. That's when I spotted it. For months, Logan had been commenting on her stories, like her posts, and leaving heart emojis. What else? She was answering, interacting with his remarks, giggling at his antics, and making light-hearted responses. Although it's not obviously incriminating, it makes me feel stupid. She resented being with this same person, whom she claimed was a mistake. Why did she continue to speak to him? I kept scrolling. It made more sense the more I observed. And keep Logan close at all times. She kept him close, but not so close that I could see him. Which aspect is the worst? I might not have known for the rest of my life if she hadn't pulled that prank at the wedding. I no longer need evidence of their involvement. I knew the answers. Leaning forward with my elbows resting on my knees, I tried to take it all in. The utter disregard for what that moment meant to me was what most surprised me. Marriage isn't a joke and a joke game like in high school. It all comes down to mutual trust and open support. What can she do in private if she can do this in public? I let out a quick gasp and shook my head. I avoided a near miss. Of course. I would have been on edge throughout my life, constantly anticipating the next joke, the next time I would be the target of it, if I had actually gone through with that wedding. It wasn't love. It was fun disguised as embarrassment. She wouldn't have taken the chance of hurting me, even for a split second, if she truly loved me. Love transcends emotions. Respect is at issue. Respect entails being aware of and refraining from crossing boundaries. Once more, my phone flashed up, but this time it wasn't in. Derek, a friend of mine. I waited for a moment before responding. "You made the proper decision," he exclaimed as soon as I took up the phone. He spoke with confidence and steadiness. It became apparent to me after hearing it from someone who understood me, even if I didn't need validation. I turned my back on something that might have cost me my future, my tranquility, and my dignity. I want to discuss two things I took away from this experience. Without respect, love is a myth. You can believe in someone totally, love them completely, and offer them everything. That love isn't genuine if they don't cherish or respect your presence, feelings, or dignity. You've made a false impression. Believing that love is enough to keep things together. It won't. Just as a structure needs a foundation, so too does love require respect. It collapses in a storm, even though it looks beautiful outside. At my wedding, that's what took place. You don't need a wedding if your partner makes fun of you and says it's a joke. Make an escape strategy. Some may claim that it was merely a joke or refuse to believe it. Even when rudeness is passed off as humor, it is still disrespect. Someone who truly cares won't make you doubt their affection. They will not play with your future, your commitment, or your honor. Weddings are significant affairs. Marriage is not a social experiment to see how far you can push your spouse. Don't waste time trying to make things better if you feel more like a punchline than a partner. Get out. Now I'd like to hear from you. If you were me, how would you respond? Do you think you would have gotten married? How would you respond differently? Leave a comment with your ideas. I want to know what you think. Share your story if you know of someone who went too far and got away with it. Someone might need to hear your story today. For now, that's all. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you staying. Your dignity should never be sacrificed for love.